Hello and welcome. This is part 2 of 4 where I'm going to be continuing my analysis of the mathematically perfect face. So in part 1 I stated that this face is as close to a perfect male 10 as we can achieve, for which there are a total of 55 features. And in this video I'm going to be analysing the midface, for which there are a total of 4 features, and I'm also going to be analysing the nose, for which there are a total of 5 features. So let's get this started. So the first feature to look for is a compact midface. And this measures how clustered or tightly packed your facial features are together. And the best way to measure this is by taking the distance between your pupils and comparing it to the distance between your pupils and your upper lip. And the ideal ratio should be roughly 1 to 1. So why is this important? Well, if you've ever seen anyone and thought to yourself, he has a really scrunched face, then it is likely because he has a really compact mid-face ratio. So in this case we have a ratio of 1 to 0.8, and as stated it gives this scrunched appearance. Likewise, anything longer than the ideal of 1 to 1, in this case a ratio of 1 to 1.2, then it gives off that horse face appearance with a really long mid-face. And obviously this is going to be undesirable. Nobody wants to look like a horse. And I've given this an importance level of 4 out of 5. And if you're not aware of the importance system, there is a brief explanation of what each of the numbers mean in the description below. Or if you want a more in-depth explanation, then check out part 1, there is a more in-depth explanation. Moving on to feature number 2, high set cheekbones. This means that your cheekbones should be closer rather than further away from your eyes. So they should be pushed upwards, providing good support to your eye area. So anything longer than that, so in this case we have a man with very low set cheekbones, so there is a very big gap between his eyes and his cheekbones, then this gives off this tired appearance. And I've given this an importance level of 4 again, because if you take a look at this man for example, if you look at his jawline, it is very promising. Like, this is easily a 7 to 8 jawline, like, it is very nice, very sharp, very masculine. However, his face is so let down by his cheekbones, and that easily knocks off like 1 to 2 points of attractiveness from him. So I do think this is very important. It's definitely something to look out for. Number 3, and this is what I would describe as dovetailing cheekbones. And what I mean by this is that your cheekbones should converge smoothly, sharp and evenly down into your jaw, forming those highly sought after, well-defined cheekbones. So if we compare it to this man here who has cheekbones that bulge outwards, then it gives those dreaded flat or rounded cheeks, and this is going to be undesirable. It's not very masculine at all. So the ideal cheekbone should converge perfectly straight going into the jaw. However, that said, there are also one other type of cheekbones that are usually considered attractive too, and this is what's commonly referred to as hollow cheekbones. So this is where the cheekbones actually divvy inwards a little bit, giving that hollow appearance. And this can be very attractive too, like you often see men with these cheekbones on the front covers of fashion magazines. Models will often have features like this. However, again, that said, it is possible to go too far past this extreme. So if we take this man for example, I would say he is actually less attractive because his hollow cheekbones go too far in. I think he would actually benefit more if he had these perfectly straight cheekbones. And secondly, the reason I think that these cheekbones, perfectly straight ones, are more ideal than hollow cheekbones, because features like this end up falling into the territory of niche markets, and they're not going to have as broad appeal to women. And this brings me into my second disclaimer. So as stated at the start of the video, I said that this face is perfectly attractive. However, the problem with that is that one girl's idea of perfect might be different from another girl's idea of perfect, and this is where looks subjectivity comes in. And in my opinion, and I'm going to say that again, this is my opinion, there are 3 types. So obviously the first type that everyone's familiar with is our chads, and this is what I focus the majority of my analysis on. And men like these are what most women would find attractive. These are going to be your 8+, 9s and 10s. However, these aren't going to fit every single girl's ideal. So the second type of men that some girls will find perfectly attractive are going to be your pretty boys, or they're more commonly known now as e-boys. And these are going to be a bit more feminine, maybe younger too. And this is where you'll start to see those features that differentiate from the norm, such as hollow cheeks, or extra super smooth skin, and a narrower frame. So some girls, especially those of high school age, will find a build like this more attractive than a build like this, which is much larger and broader. Likewise, on the other end of the spectrum, you'll have men what I like to refer to as uber masculine men. So these are going to be your testosterone junkies, Dwayne Johnson, Nick Pulos. And this is where you'll see features such as a much thicker neck and skull. So in part 4, where I'm going to outline the ideal skull to neck ratio, you'll find that these uber masculine men have a larger neck than is considered attractive. They may also have a broader chin. So in part 1, I mentioned how each length of the jaw, if you divide it by jaw, chin, jaw, should be roughly of equal length, but you'll often see these uber masculine men as having a much broader chin than the sides of their jaw. And you will also see these men have a much larger frame than most women would consider attractive. And the point I'm trying to make here is that when I'm talking about the subject of a man being perfectly attractive, I'm going to focus my analysis on this because these men in the middle are going to be the most appealing to the broadest range of women. These are going to have the most options. Like, these are easily going to be attractive to at least 90% of women. Meanwhile, these men on the side, like maybe pretty boys, they're going to have like 5% appeal. So if a woman's type is pretty boys, she's going to rate these men as the 10s. They're going to rate these guys at least 8. And then they're going to take a look at these men and think, oh no, he's way too big, he's too scary, he's a 3 out of 10. Likewise, on the other side, these men are also going to have, like, let's say 5% appeal. So you're going to have some women, and they're going to look at these guys and rate these as the 10s. And then these guys in the middle are going to be rated at least 8. And then they'll take a look at these pretty boys and they'll think, oh no, he's way too feminine, he's too camp, he looks like he could get beat up easily. I'm going to rate these a 3 out of 10. So the reason I'm focusing my analysis on these chads is because no matter what the circumstance is, they're always going to be rated at least an 8, irrespective of what the girl's type is. So that's my point. As I said, it's my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think of it. Anyway, carrying on with the analysis. So feature number 4 is a forward grown maxilla. So the maxilla is the bone in the middle of the face where the mouth meets the eyes. And in order to be attractive, this should be forward grown. So if we compare it to this man here, who I would consider having a below average maxilla, it doesn't provide very good support with the eyes, and overall it adds to facial flatness, which is usually going to be considered unattractive. Likewise, if we compare it to this man, who I would consider having a very below average maxilla, almost to the point where his maxilla is recessed back into his skull, and it's going to add to that tired appearance and facial flatness, and it's not going to be very attractive. It's not very masculine at all, and I've given this an importance level of 3, so again, like, these are all fairly important things to look out for. So those are the 4 features that make up the perfect midface. Let me know in the comments below if you have any thoughts so far. Now, moving on to the perfect nose. Feature number 1, there should be no up or down turning when it comes to the nose. It should be as close to being forward grown and straight as possible. So if we compare it to this man here who has the hooked nose, and this is going to give off that goblin-like appearance. Likewise, this nose, which I would consider even worse than this one, is the dreaded upturned nose, which is going to give that piggish or snoutish appearance, like you can see right up his nostrils. This is going to be unattractive. However, I've only given this an importance level of 2, so it's not really a big deal. However, again, that said, I might bump this upturned nose to an importance level of 3, because this is quite bad. But having a hooked nose isn't really much of a big deal. What determines whether your nose is up or down turned is measured by your nasolabial angle, which measures the angle between your nose and your philtrum, which is this little bit of skin here between your upper lip and your nose. And the ideal angle should be roughly 105 degrees. So anything shorter than that, in this case, a man with 85-degree angle, is going to give that hooked nose appearance that I've already said about. And even worse than this, a nasolabial angle of 135 degrees in this case is going to give that snoutish appearance. So this man actually had corrective surgery, a rhinoplasty, to get his nasolabial angle reduced to the ideal 105 degrees. Feature number 2, the height to width ratio of the nose. And the ideal ratio should be roughly 3:2. So your nose should be 1.5 times longer than it is wide, because anything shorter than that is going to give that wide nose appearance. So in this case we have a ratio of 1:1. However, that said, I've only given it an importance level of 1. This man is still very attractive despite having this minor flaw. It's not going to mean much of a difference. This man is still quite comfortably an 8 out of 10. Feature number 3, nose size. And the best way to measure this, I would say, is by comparing the width of the face to the width of the nose. And an ideal ratio should be roughly 4:1. So your nose should be a quarter of the size of the width of your face. So anything larger than that is going to give that large nose appearance. So in this case we have a ratio of 3:1. But again, it only has an importance level of 2. So this man is still quite comfortably a 7 out of 10 just looking at the bottom half of his face, despite having this flaw with his nose. Because other features such as your jawline are going to carry so much more weight, and this man does have a very above average jawline. Feature number 4, the straightness of the nose. So your nose should be as close to as straight as possible. So a man who has a nose that is curved inwards is commonly referred to as having a ski slope nose, and this is going to be unattractive because it gives off that feminine appearance. Likewise, a man who has a nose that curves outwards often gives that hawkish or raven nose kind of look, which is also going to be undesirable. However, that said, I would say that this raven nose is going to be more attractive than this ski slope nose. And again, it's only got an importance level of 2. Like, these men can still be quite attractive. And what you'll find is none of these 5 features that make up the perfect nose are ever going to be really that important. Hence why I'm rushing through them, because they just don't carry that much weight. Feature number 5, the nose's angle. So this measures the steepness of the nose, and the ideal angle should be roughly 35 degrees, because anything longer than that is going to give that pointy nose, like that Pinocchio nose appearance. So in this case we have a man with an angle of 42 degrees, and anything shorter than that is going to give a flat nose, which adds to facial flatness, and again is going to be unattractive. So in this case we have a man with an angle of 28 degrees, and I've given this an importance level of 1, so it's really not important again. So, that's part 2, the 9 features that make up the perfect mid-face and nose. In part 3, I'm going to be going over the eyes, for which there are a total of 16 features. Make sure you like and comment on the video as it helps the YouTube algorithm, even if the comment is just to say, this one's for the algorithm. And let me know in the comments below what you think of these importance ratings.